Today I'm taking a look at Run, Run, Run. This is the second edition of this game. This is from 25th Century Games, and you're going to be playing as these cat venturers trying to stop the mummies in this maze and in this tomb that you are building out on your table. First, I'll show you an overview of how it plays, and I'll come back and tell you some of my likes and dislikes for the game. This also is a review copy from 25th Century Games, so let's go ahead and take a look at how it plays. Okay, so here we have a game of Run, Run, Run set up and ready to go. This is a dungeon crawler, light dungeon crawler, tile placement game where you are kind of building your maze and you're putting these rooms out throughout the course of the game, and you're trying to defeat all these mummies that are going to be coming out onto the maze, and you're not wanting them to reach this particular room on Pharaoh's vault. So if it reaches this room, which is Pharaoh's relics, you lose the game. If any mummy gets in there, you lose the game. And to win the game, you have to defeat all the mummies. So there are two phases to every turn. There is the mummy phase and then your phase. At the beginning of the game, you will pick a cat venturer, and then you will get this card tile that allows you to do a special ability if you roll that particular die face during combat, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. So at the beginning of your turn, you will roll one of the mummy die. If it lands on that particular symbol, then you will be adding a heart to the mummy's health over here, basically, because all the mummies are asleep at the start of the game, and so you're trying to not have them wake up. But if they ever get 5 hearts on that particular tile, you will flip this over, and then that mummy is awake and active and is out here in the maze. Now on your turn, you can do one of 3 things. You can explore, you can fight, or you could cooperate. If you're exploring, you're placing one of these tiles down and extending the maze. If you're fighting, that's pretty self-explanatory. You're fighting a mummy. And if you are cooperating, you're going to take one of these tiles and gain the benefits shown on that tile. So if we are exploring, say we go ahead and place this tile out right here. That is perfectly legal, and we would move on to that tile and then place a torch token onto that particular tile. If you ever run out of torch tokens, you have to add more hearts to the mummy and awaken the mummies faster. Now there's a couple rules with tile placement. One, you cannot block yourself in, which makes sense. The other thing is you cannot block a pathway, basically. So you can't place a tile like this. You would have to make sure that the pathways match up, and then you always have at least one place to go. Otherwise, you're going to kind of close yourself in, block yourself in. You also have to make sure you can move onto that tile. You can move up to 3 spaces on your turn, so it can't be more than 3 spaces away where you put down that new tile. Now, that's our turn. We'll go ahead and take another turn for the mummy here. No symbol there, but let's go ahead and say we landed on it, and we'll give it another heart. Now, there are some other things that will happen once you are able to line up symbols. You're also doing some pattern matching, pattern building in this game as well. So say I have, maybe this tile right here, and then maybe we've gotten this tile right here. Well, now we've got 3 in kind of a triangular pattern, and so you're able to take one of these torch mechanism tokens and place it right there, and that's going to give you 5 torches. So whenever you place down one of these torch mechanism tokens, you would add 5 torches to the shared supply. So that's good. You're going to need torches. You don't want to run out of torches. So, maybe we had a couple torches in this room and we added 5 more on there. Now, if you ever have 3 different symbols that you have made into a triangle pattern here, like say we have this one right here, and say we take this one and put it right here. Well, now you have one of the door mechanisms, and those are these gear tokens. And you have to get 3 door mechanisms out on the maze somewhere to be able to activate the boss mummy. Remember, to win the game, you have to defeat all the regular mummies and the boss mummy. So you have to get 3 of those placed out there onto the maze. You can also increase your difficulty and make it so you have to place 4 or 5 if you want to, and make it even harder on yourself. So those are the various room tiles. There's also the sarcophagus tiles as well, which if you place that out, you get to take one of these and get a benefit. This is going to give you 1 more damage if you are competing in combat. There's some that give you more rooms, and so on. And then at the end of your turn, you're always going to draw a tile and have that in your hand. Now we'll give ourselves a few more tiles here, and now we'll kind of simulate what happens when you are fighting a mummy. So say we had this mummy, say it had gotten all 5 of these heart tokens placed on it, and now it's active and is out here on the board. We'll give it 3 more just so you can kind of see here as an example. So immediately you have to discard one of your room tokens. And so you look and you say, okay, which one do I want to get rid of? Maybe that one. We'll place that into the discard pile. Now, the other thing is you're going to add a dice to the mummy's pool as well. So now it has 2 dice instead of just 1 die. So now at the beginning of the mummy's turn, you will roll You got one symbol, so that's one heart, and then the mummy would move one spot as well. So whenever you put the mummy out there, you're going to try to put it as far away from Pharaoh's vault here as you can, so that, you know, if it gets in there, you'll lose the game. So you're going to place it kind of far away. So then, for every positive symbol that you roll, for every face that you roll, it would move one space as well. So then it would move one space closer. It always goes towards the Pharaoh's vault and the relics room there, always trying to work towards that. Now, say you have a chance to fight the mummy. You have to be on the same space as the mummy, and now you could fight the mummy. Your combat strength is determined by how many room tiles you discard. So say we discarded 3 room tiles. So now we have a strength of 3. Now we would roll these 3 die, and we got 2 hits on that mummy, and we also get to add an extra room tile to our hand. So we would take 2 of these heart tokens away, and now that mummy's health is down to 3. There's some other symbols on here. You can also push the mummy and yourself one spot, kind of whichever way you want, get it further away there from that spot. And you have the question mark, which our question mark ability is that we get an extra torch that we get to add to the supply. Every, again, cat venturer has a slightly different one, so it's kind of a little bit of a player ability there that comes into use just a couple times throughout the game. So, say you have the boss mummy out here on the board. Say you've placed all 3 of these door tokens, the boss mummy is now flipping over and is now ready to go. Well, the boss mummy has a very high health of 16, so you need 16 hits to destroy the boss mummy. You also have to get rid of 2 tiles from your hand immediately. It can move an extra space, and it is, this symbol doesn't do anything to it. So even if you had that symbol on your combat dice that you roll, it doesn't affect the boss mummy. So then you pick whichever one matches that. There's 3 different ones that come with the game. They're all a little bit different in terms of how much health they have and their abilities. So again, you would just continue to kind of take turns here. Say you rolled these 2 dice again, no symbols, but you know, if you get a symbol, then this moves. The boss mummy moves. You might stay there. You might say, okay, give me some more tiles. I'm going to try to fight the boss mummy a little bit. Maybe I'll discard, the 3 tiles that I had in my hand, and I'll roll those 3 dice again, and I'll get, it doesn't count with that symbol. No hits on it that time, but I get another tile. I get to add a torch token in here. And then you just kind of continue to do that. And if the mummy ever makes it into this room, it will stop. So if it had say it was moving 2 spaces there, 1, 2, it'll stop right here. And so you have 1 turn to kind of catch up to it before it moves into the relics room. And if it ever moves in there, if any of the mummies ever move in there, then you lose the game. So that's an overview of how to play Run, Run, Run. All the mummies look kind of different. They're these big wooden chunky pieces with what looks like kind of stickers or something kind of printed over top of them there. And then the cat ventures are the same way. They're wooden tokens as well. And then the dice are all kind of custom with the symbols on them. And it's very easy to distinguish which ones are for you and which ones are for the mummies. And the tiles are good quality as well, as we're talking about components. So all the components really solid for this game. That's an overview of how you play. Now I'll go back and share with you some of my likes and dislikes for Run, Run, Run. So you've seen an overview of how the game plays. Now I'll share with you some of my thoughts for this one. My first like for this is from a solo perspective. It's very easy. There's no additional rules that you have to learn. There's no additional setup components, none of that. So it takes some of that cumbersomeness of playing a solo mode out of it. You just set it up, go through the normal rule book, and you are good to go. Again, the only different thing that happens when you play solo, like I mentioned in the overview, is you get more starting tiles, but other than that, everything remains the same. From a solo aspect, that is definitely a positive. Very easy to learn the rules for this one. Also, I really like the components for this game. The little mummies, they're wooden, they're very thick. The cardboard tiles that you get are very thick as well, so no component complaints from this one. Everything works really well from a usability perspective. Also, this is a very easy dungeon crawler, very light dungeon crawler. Maybe you're the type of person that wants to play a game like this, and you don't know if this is the game for you. You don't know if you like this type of game. This could be a good one to start with, because sometimes dungeon crawlers are very big. They're campaign based. They have a lot of components, a lot of setup, a lot of rules overhead, and this could be a good entry point. If you're like, do I like going around in this kind of maze and trying to defeat these mummies, stop them, trying to figure out the best way to put my tiles down, all of that stuff. This could be a good entry point for you, especially if you're new to solo gaming and you want to try something that's a little simpler. This is definitely a really solid choice for that. Also, if you're a fan of tile placement, pattern building, this is going to be a positive for you. You know, that's one thing that I don't see a lot in these types of games, is that you're actually building this out as you go. You are building the maze, you're deciding where the rooms are going to go, how you're going to best organize them to make it the easiest for you, and also so that the mummies don't make it into the relic area of the tomb and of the vault. And I think that's a really cool aspect of this game, because a lot of these types of games just come with a book or a map or something that's already preset. But the fact that you kind of get to build it as you go, and then every time it's going to look different, is really kind of a cool feature of this game. Also, I would say the cat venturers are cool as well. I have one right over here. You know, they're, again, those wooden chunky meeples. Then they all have those little different abilities when you roll the combat dice. So that's cool. You can kind of set up things a little bit differently with the play in terms of which one of those you decide to play with. That could vary your strategy a little bit. And also with the various types of boss mummies, there's 3 that come in the game. You don't know which one you're going to get when you set up. So you've got some variability there as well in terms of which one you're going to try to defeat when it does kind of finally come out and you flip it over. And of course, the variability with the tiles too. You're not going to see all of the tiles in this game. Every game that you play, the tiles that you draw are going to come out in different ways. So all of that kind of changes things as well throughout the course of the game. So those are my likes for Run, Run, Run. Again, a very simple game, easy game to learn, easy setup, a small box. Those are all positives. Some dislikes for this game. I think my main dislike for this one is just that it is very, very hard solo. In fact, I don't even know if it works great solo. I think it would work better with more people. I think it's very tough to only have one character out there on the board, to have your tiles, to try to prevent the mummies from getting into that second room in the vault area, in the tomb. I've never been able to do it. In fact, all of the games of this that I've played have been over in about 10 to 15 minutes, and I've never gotten the boss mummy out on the board, actually. I've never had enough time to be able to do that before a mummy gets into that second room and I lose the game. So from that aspect, it's very, very difficult from a solo perspective. I'm assuming it is winnable. I haven't had that happen yet, and I haven't even gotten close to have that happening. Now, I'm not saying that's, a total negative. As I've said in reviews before, I don't care if I, lose the game or win the game, but I just want to feel like I had a chance to win the game. And with this, I don't really feel like I have that chance. Every game has been over pretty quickly. I wasn't even close to accomplishing the objectives that I needed to get done. None of that stuff was able to happen when I played solo. But I think if you played this with more people, if you had more cat venturers out there on the board, if you had more tiles that were being placed down, if you could collaborate a little bit more, I think it would work better for sure. So this might be one that if you do pick up and you do play solo, maybe you want to play it two-handed or maybe even three-handed, to give you some more characters, to give you the ability to place more tiles out. Now, you're going to be rolling those mummy dice more often, but it seems like you would have a better chance to kind of mitigate some of the things that happen to you. A lot of times in this game, I would have a mummy out on the board, and then maybe the second mummy would come out, and I wouldn't be able to kind of stop both of them because I just was the one character. So it was like, who do I try to focus on? I can go over here and try to fight this one. Oh, but now this one is getting closer and advancing, and oh, one of them broke in, and now the game's over. It was just very hard to manage when there were, more than one mummy out on the board, even when there were 2 or 3 out on the board. Now, another dislike I have from this game is that all the combat is just dice rolling, and there's really no way to mitigate that in any way. You can put more tiles down, and that'll give you more dice to roll throughout the combat. Sometimes you get a lot of faces that don't allow you to do any damage to a particular enemy. You maybe want to move an enemy, you're not able to do that. So again, it just feels very swingy in the fact that if you get good dice rolls, you could do pretty decent, but if you get bad dice rolls, it could be over very quickly. So that's another dislike for this game. I think it's very hard to defeat the mummies. I know for this second edition, they have changed some things from the first edition. I did not play the first edition, but one complaint I saw some people had about the first edition was that it was difficult and even more difficult than the second edition. So it seems like they've kind of eased up on some of those restrictions a little bit, but it's still very, very tough to defeat a mummy. You know, if a mummy has 5 health, then you're only dealing 1 or 2 damage a turn, and it's continuing to move while you are, you know, trying to deal with that damage. That can be very difficult, especially when the first one comes out and your dungeon is maybe only, you know, 5 or 6 spaces big. It can get to that room it needs to get into very quickly. So I would have liked to see, you know, a way to have more damage, hit them a little bit stronger, maybe decrease their health level, something like that throughout the course of the game. I think the boss mummy is a cool idea, but man, is it really difficult to defeat that again when you are just playing solo with one character. If you had 3 or 4 characters out there, 3 or 4 cat venturers, you could go out and you could kind of all gang up on that boss mummy and be able to constantly just kind of try to hit it while you are playing throughout the course of the game. But with only one character, it makes it very tough to be able to do that. So those are some of my dislikes for Run, Run, Run. Again, a game I think that I would, you know, work better if you had more people playing, if you had more adventurers out there on the board. Overall, a very well-made game, easy to understand, components are great, but I just really don't think this one works super great for solo play, unless you're somebody that's just kind of getting into this genre of game and you want to see if this type of game is right for you. So I'm going to give Run, Run, Run a 6 out of 10. A game that I just don't think I will be returning back to a ton. I think there's better games in this type of genre of games, but if you like that tile placement, that pattern building, if you like the ability to kind of build out your dungeon as you go, or if you're watching this for some reason and you're not going to play it solo and you're going to play it with more people, I think it would work better with more people. Or like I said, if you decided to 2-hand it or 3-hand it, that's not how you play officially, but you would be able to make that change very easily and possibly better your experience and better your chance of winning or even getting close to winning and not have the game be over so quickly every single time. So a 6 out of 10 for me for Run, Run, Run. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Lots of other reviews and lists on the channel. Until next time, I'm Jared. You've been checking out Specifically Solo.